Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ashley Wilcott. Thank you for joining us this Friday afternoon. The search for Brian Laundrie continues today at a Florida nature reserve. Laundrie now has a federal arrest warrant and was last seen departing his parents' home 10 days ago. Investigators have spent several days searching the 25,000-acre Carlton Reserve for Laundrie. Let's take a look at what is happening on the ground in Florida.
More teams joining the search for Gabby Petito's fiancé, Brian Laundrie, a highly specialized group of divers at the 25,000-acre Carlton Wildlife Reserve.
They dive down where you and I can't see anything at all, and they utilize technology and other special equipment to help them get down deep into really deep bodies of water.
The multi-agency operation taking a methodical approach.
We are trying to cover every acre in this preserve. I tell you, these guys are law enforcement partners. They're motivated and they're hungry to find Brian Laundrie.
Police say Laundrie's parents claim they last saw him over a week ago when he told them he was heading to the reserve. A neighbor told us she saw Brian after he returned home alone.
Saw him and the family in the neighborhood out in the front yard.
And how would you describe them?
I thought it was just, again, a normal, they were going for a walk kind of thing, so never thought anything about it.
The initial determination for the manner of Gabby Petito's death, homicide. The FBI now asking the public for assistance. Some tips to the FBI proving valuable. A second person says he witnessed a domestic dispute between Petito and Laundrie on August 12th and gave a handwritten sworn statement saying in part they were talking aggressively at each other and something seemed off. At one point, they were sort of fighting over a phone. I think the male took the female's phone. It appeared that he didn't want her in the white van. And from my point of view, something definitely didn't seem right. Another witness, Jessica Schultz, a woman who was camping in Wyoming, says in a TikTok video that she alerted the FBI when she spotted a white van suspiciously parked for several days.
So a group of friends and I were camped at Sprague Creek from the 22nd to the 29th. And in that time frame, we all independently noticed that van parked there. And I noticed it particularly because I had seen it trying to park, and also because it wasn't actually parked in a designated spot. So I figured they'd get booted by the people that patrol the area. But the van was there for several days and nights, and it did not get booted. The weirdest part about it was that there was no indication that there was anybody actually at the van.
I want to bring in now forensic criminologist Laura Petler, and still with us, criminal defense attorney Jack Rice. Dr. Petler, I'm going to start with you first. Thank you for being on with us. And here's where I want to start. At the very beginning, I would love to know your thoughts, specifically as a forensic criminologist, when you heard that this young lady was missing, that her vehicle was at her fiance's house, that he was there with his parents, and that the attorney had issued a statement on their behalf saying we're not cooperating with law enforcement?
The first thing I always think of when we have a case like this is I say to investigators, start the investigation where the investigation starts. And that would be with the call to 911 made by the male witness about the domestic incident that he allegedly witnessed along their trip. That was my very first thought. And then going from there, once you have all of the variables that you just listed, Ashley, my thought is that there's something wrong. There's something that's going on with Gabby, that she is not present with her own vehicle where she should be present, and their behavior is consistent with concealment of something, whether it's malicious or criminal is yet to be determined. But as an expert in domestic violence homicide, and specifically staged domestic violence homicides that which include missing persons cases, this has all of the earmarks of pre-staging and during staging and post-staging behavior.
And we're going to come back to the pre, during, and post-staging behaviors because you and I have talked about those before in other cases. But first, let me ask you, Jack, we're going to go from that beginning information and go through, fast forward to where we are now. We know that it was told where that she may have last been in Wyoming. They searched. They found a body thought to be Gabby Petito. We now know that, yes, it is Gabby Petito, and they have said the manner of death is homicide, meaning she was killed. We also know that this fiance is allegedly in Florida. Nobody knows that for certain, but that's the information that law enforcement currently has, and they are searching 25,000 acres. We also know that he has used, or rather I should say, we know that her credit card has been used. What are your thoughts at this point as a criminal defense attorney?
Well, when you find that the feds have actually charged him with the use of those credit cards, I mean, it's a low-level offense anyway, but at the same time, there's a reason for that. They're trying to get their hands on him, and they want to give all the power they can to law enforcement everywhere to actually step in and try to arrest Mr. Laundrie. And so it's not really a shock to me that we're seeing all of this ramping up as it is. And let's face it, it's incredibly suspicious. It's certainly something that would be very, very useful as part of the investigation. So I suspect to see more and more of this as the days come along.
All right, if we could come back with you, Dr. Laura Pettler, and tell us about all of the earmarks, as you said, of the pre, during, and post. Flesh that out and explain to us what you mean by that.
Staging behavior, Ashley, is the deliberate attempt by an offender to misdirect an investigation. So one of the things that we want to look at immediately is what are the routine activities of Gabby, what are the routine activities of Brian, and what are the routine activities of his parents. And so then once we establish what those routine activities are, and we get a full victimology on Gabby, we then compare those, using them as the baseline and using the victimology as a baseline, to compare to the behaviors that we're seeing in what could be pre-staging behavior or even during staging behavior. When he arrives home to Florida without her, she's expected to be with him when he arrives to Florida. And then what are the routine activities of his parents? Is it normal for them to just pick up and go camping out of, without a plan, just without like having planned it as a getaway or something? Is that normal for them? What is normal for them? What is normal for Brian? And where do we see the breaks in those activities? Because those can lead to what we call earmarks of pre, during, and post staging activity in cases where domestic homicide is suspected.
And you make such a good point about what is normal for them, because there's been a lot of criticism, talk out there in the social media world about his parents. And I do think law enforcement is looking at what is their normal behavior along with Brian's as the search for him continues. You are both going to stay with me. I'm very grateful for that, because after the break, we are going to continue to look at the case of Gabby Petito. We are continuing our coverage on the case of Gabby Petito. We have recently learned a funeral will be held for her on Sunday in New York and will be open to the public from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Before Gabby went missing, the police responded to a domestic violence dispute between Gabby and her fiancé, Brian Laundrie. Laundrie has still yet to be found, but we do want to take a look at what they both had to say about a fight outside the Moonflower Co-op.
I don't know, we've just been fighting all morning, and he wouldn't let me in the car before. And then
why wouldn't he let you in the car? Because of your OCD?
He told me I needed to calm down. Yeah. But I'm perfectly calm. I'm calm all the time, and he really stresses me out, and this is a rough morning.
Where'd you hit him? You slapped him first? It's on his face? How many times did you slap?
Bravo, Romeo, India, Alpha, November.
And then what? And his reaction was to do what?
It's going to be out of Florida.
He just grabbed you? Did he hit you though? I mean, it's okay if you're saying you hit him. I understand if he hit you, but we want to know the truth. If he actually hit you, because where did he hit you? Don't worry. Just be honest. Did he slap your face or what? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So has he been drinking?
No, we don't drink.
What was up with his driving? This officer said he hit a curb.
I
While you're driving?
well,
While he was driving, you were hitting him?
not a lot. Like, come on, and I like kind of like so stupid.
Did you already tell him all this?
I didn't get that far into
Okay,
it. She
so
was hyperventilating
She's
a little
saying
bit.
that they don't drink, but at the point when you let them up,
You don't drink or anything.
She started hitting him.
I was yelling at him, and then when you turned your lights on, I like kind of punched his arm like there's no just an idiot.
she's saying was why he hit the curb.
So, tell me what's going on.
She just gets worked up sometimes, and I try and really distance myself from her. So, like, I locked the car and I walked away from her. What happened this morning is that she's trying to start up like her own little website blog and everything. So I give her time. And we really had a nice morning, if anything. But she just worked up because we were trying to get going and get our day going because we want to go like arches before the Sunday time.
Okay. You want to tell me about those scratches on your face?
She had a cell phone in her hand. That's why I was pushing her away, because she wanted I locked the keys so I could walk away. I said, let's just take a breather and let's not go anywhere. Let's just calm down for a minute because she was getting really worked up. And then she had her phone and was trying to get the keys to me, so I got in the way. I was just trying to, I know I shouldn't push, but I was just trying to push her away to go, let's just take a minute, step back and breathe. And she got me with her phone.
Can I see your hand? Oh, you got a mark right here.
Oh, that's from a wire.
That's from a wire?
Yeah.
You want to tell me about hitting that curb?
Hitting the curb was her grabbing the wheel.
She grabbed the wheel?
Yeah. She said, I can't believe we're getting pulled over, and then she grabbed the wheel.
What about the speed? Did she take over the pedal on you?
If I was going fast, I'm sorry. No, it's probably just the moment of, I'm still shaking now. The adrenaline, seeing the lights flashing up, and then her gripping the wheel. So if I sped up, I'm sorry about that. Or if I was speeding beforehand, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, it took quite a bit to catch up to you. So,
yeah. I'm sorry about that. We're just going into the park again to get water because we have a 6-gallon water container to fill up. So we're just grabbing water for the hike. Okay. And I was trying to keep everything calm and quiet because there's plans still to go for a hike, but it's good. I'm really sorry about that.
And still with us to help break all this down, we have forensic criminologist Laura Petler, sorry about that, Laura, and criminal defense attorney Jack Rice. I talked too fast. All right, Laura, I must start with, in the previous part of this show about Petito, you were talking about the importance to look at activities and routine and normal and what those things look like. In this case, let's focus on the victim, and we just saw her. After watching her on the body cam, do you have any opinions about her, what may be normal or routine activities, or a one-off of those?
The first thing I notice about Gabby in that video is that she is appearing to take the blame for what's happening between them. And she's saying that he doesn't want her in the vehicle, and that she's minimizing what's going on here because the witness of what he was saying was something very different. And so to me, her routine activities, if she's really suffering from mental illness and OCD, that's interesting that she leads with that, Ashley, to me. Is she always upset? Is she always hysterical, quote unquote, as they use there in the segment or in the video, this hysterical woman? To me, she doesn't look like a person who's always going to be that upset, that something has really set her off. And her emotionality almost seems disproportionate to me compared to what he's describing. Like, okay, we're having this little tiff. I'm telling her to get out of the car. I'm telling her to stay out of the car. And she's reacting to it very, very strongly. I would react to it that way too. Maybe there are other people who would say, yeah, there'd be a strong reaction to someone kicking you out of your own car. But it comes down to what is normal for her. And we don't see that here. But one way that could have been determined is if the police would have asked to speak with her parents when she was on the phone with them. And just to recognize all of the lethality factors that are going on here, from, gaslighting all the way through the physical violence aspect. It increases the risk of a victim becoming a domestic violence victim to the point of immediate intervention is necessary. So Those are my first thoughts when I see her and her behavior and her emotionality. It could be interpreted so many different ways by different people.
And look at the emotionality that you mentioned of Brian, because he's very charismatic, I think, in terms of watching the video. He doesn't really seem upset, and he just seems like it's a kind of another day in the life, and it's not a big deal. So it's interesting to watch these videos. Jack, all right, we've learned and we know that it is homicide, that is the manner of death. Is that enough to charge someone? Must there be a cause of the manner of death is homicide? Must we know how that person was killed in order to expect charges in this case?
Yeah, not always. Not always. I mean, the fact that we know that it's homicide isn't enough in itself. We just know that she died in the fashion that she died, not that somebody specifically did it or they had probable cause to do it. And so they're still looking for more information. They're still looking for witnesses. They're still looking for statements. They certainly want to talk to Brian Laundrie and to see what happened in this circumstance. By the way, you should note that one of the things that the officers did in this case when they were talking to Laundrie, they noticed the scratches on his neck. They also looked at his hands. One of the reasons you do that automatically is you're looking for offensive wounds versus defensive wounds. So in other words, what are you showing on the palms of your hands versus you're showing on the backs of your hands, on your knuckles, on your forearms? Those are all areas that an officer is going to look for to see if this was much more violent or far more inconsistent than what Mr. Laundrie is talking about.
And Jack, did you pick up, because I think I failed to notice where exactly those scratches were?
Well, he mentions his neck, and that was the reference, but then he references it was a cell phone, which actually, that doesn't quite make sense to me in terms of what a cell phone is. It's a blunt object, which may cause bruising. It may cause discoloration. It may cause bumps, but it's not going to cause scratches.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Petler. We appreciate, as always, you coming on. Jack Rice, you're going to stay with us.